All right, so we're back for part two, and as we closed off saying, we finished off about the Charlotte Ripley match, and again, painful it is. Commend them for being able to turn that crowd.
And what it was a good match involving good people. It's just a victim of circumstance that it's a Charlotte match. You know, If we had handled her character differently, we should be singing this match's praises because there's a lot of good. Like, she immediately started flipping off the fans when they chanted for Becky, and the natural selection from the second rope or top rope.
I think it was the top rope.
Goodness gracious, right?
Yeah.
The viciousness at the end with the stairs. You're like, when she won, you know what's funny, Jack? My heart sank, and I thought, well, dang, she sure did win that match, didn't she? Like, she was pretty dominant. She played up her role as the dirtiest female player of the game. Woo! Ugh. But you're like, I cannot deny her. Goodness.
Yeah.
So, Nick, it's up to Nikki. It's up to superhero Nikki to save us from the villain that is Charlotte Flair.
Hey, that's a perfectly fine story in my books because that's truly playing up to her gimmick. If she's such a hero, take down the ones that the fans consider so much a villain, Charlotte Flair. And as we mentioned in previous episodes too, it's like, it's not even that we dislike Charlotte and stuff. We always have to mention it because, it's one thing I always like to emphasize. We're hating the booking of the character itself, not the person. And, of course, we're getting angry at the people booking this character, the creative team, because it's like, why are you doing her this badly? Like, no one has an issue with Charlotte getting a world title. It's the fact that she's been here for 6 years and already has 14 world title reigns.
Yep, 14. That is correct.
Yeah, 6 years and 14 titles. That's almost like 2 title reigns a year almost.
That's some good math, Jack. Some good math. Some frustrating math. But we transition to some Peacock shenanigans. I almost gave up on the night, but somebody on Twitter said, go back, turn it off, turn it on again, and it's all right. Did you see the interaction between Matt Riddle and Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura?
I did not get to.
Oh, so they're just hanging out in the gorilla position, and Matt Riddle's being Matt Riddle, and Rick Boogs, you realize, he is Matt Riddle. He's just Matt Riddle with a guitar on SmackDown, and they're sort of interacting. And he gets Rick Boogs to play Randy Orton's theme song, and Shinsuke, rather than, I don't know, assert his dominance or call out this is absurd, he just poses like Randy Orton while Rick Boog plays the music and Riddle sings the lyrics. And it's Kevin Owens who walks behind them and gives them the look of disdain on his way to the ring.
Going back to the Peacock thing, I wasn't trying to give up, but even after I saw the people like on social media saying you had to close out and reopen, my Peacock still was failing, so I had to give up on the night and rewatch these last 2 matches today. And as I'll give a spoiler for the latter match, or not the latter match, the latter match. I wasn't able to get into the main event as much as I could because of the fact that I knew what was happening. Like, that's the one thing, like, it's, I think you might have mentioned it before, but it's one of the main reasons I struggle to, like, go back and watch NXT episodes, because it's like, if I'm seeing them the next day, I already know the results, so it's harder to, like, get into the matches. And that's kind of how I felt with these last 2 matches, all because of the whole Peacock thing. I was like, they were good, but I couldn't find myself getting as into them as I probably would have live.
I know what you mean. Did you go into knowing who was going to win?
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, and me and my dad were even so mad because of the fact that we didn't get to see who wins this men's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yes, yes, yes. And who is in the Money in the Bank ladder match, Jack?
So, on the Raw side, we get John Morrison, Ricochet, Matt Riddle, and who is the last Raw guy I am forgetting?
Did you say John Morrison?
Yeah, it was John Morrison, Ricochet, Matt Riddle. Oh, and Drew McIntyre.
Aha!
And the SmackDown side gave us Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, and Seth Rollins.
Right. Did you have any feelings of who was going to win this match before we start talking about it and before you watched it?
So, this one was actually really unpredictable to me. I ruled out Drew because as much as people were saying, oh, this is the way for Drew to sneak back into the title scene, I was like, no, they're not doing this because if Drew's going to be their next big babyface, they're not going to have the fans turn on him by having him win this match. That would just be a complete, killer for this man's character and his audience reactions.
Agreed.
I had similar thinking to the Nikki pick with Matt Riddle. I was like,
yes, that would be the Nikki pick in the men's.
Yeah, I was like, with how much he's popped up on TV and stuff, and, with reports that Vince is liking him, I could see him winning it. But I think the thing that gave it away to me that he wasn't going to win was that apparently, before the match, I don't know where he announced on it, either in some type of interview or something, but he said if he were to have won the briefcase, he was going to cash it in on the tag team titles with Orton. And instantly, I knew that wasn't... I was like, okay, Riddle's more than likely not winning this because if they didn't do that last year with Otis to get out of giving Otis a world title match, they're not going to do it here with Riddle.
Got it.
I maybe thought Morrison, but I was like, no, they just got over the thing with him and Miz. And Miz being that briefcase winner, I was like, there's no way they do it. I was like, I ruled out Ricochet as well because I was like, I see him probably being in the U.S. title picture rather than the world title one. And plus, for the most part, the briefcase works better on heels. And so, that left me with the SmackDown side, which is funny because it was like, it would seem more probable for someone to win and cash in on Bobby Lashley than at the current moment someone cash in on Roman. But still, I was left with the Raw side, and I was like, I don't see Nakamura winning it because he has his crown King Nakamura thing going right now. And honestly, I had it between KO and Big E because I was like, Big E's the guy I want, but I think they might have gone with Owens or even Rollins if they were trying to do like a 2-time Money in the Bank thing with him. But it was like, those were like the three that I kind of had in mind with my main pick wanting to be Big E.
Yeah, going in, Seth Rollins seemed like the safest bet. You know what I mean? And I've heard people describe his interactions with Roman being really compelling because he doesn't cower in fear to Roman. The head of the table. He kind of looks at him as the guy from his stable that he's beaten before. You know what I mean? Like he knows how he has his number. And you're like, that's kind of cool. I'd like to see that happen. I've also heard people make the argument he doesn't need the briefcase at all. So if not Rollins, then who did I really think was going to come out of this smelling like roses? Gosh, you're right. It was so up in the air. I didn't know about anybody other. I just had my eyes on Seth Rollins. Owens, I didn't think was going to win. John Morrison is another one. This isn't going to work out for him. Ricochet, gosh, Ricochet looked so good in this match. It was like, oh man, I guess the real remedy for Ricochet is to just put him in ladder matches all the time.
Yeah, he does.
They really let him shine here.
Yeah, and it was funny because as I was typing out notes while watching, I was like, I wrote down, wow, Ricochet really does well in these matches. Wow, they're really letting KO show out. And I was like, wait a second, they're really letting everyone in this match show out because I was going to continue, writing down, oh, Morrison's getting these cool spots. They're really playing up Drew Strong. I was like, The more I think about it, I should just write everyone's getting their shine here because truly everyone was.
Absolutely. But I think Seth Rollins had the best chance of winning in my mind. So talk about spots. I think Seth Rollins and John Morrison fighting over the rightful claim to being King of the Drip. That was really funny.
Yeah, I found that funny too, especially with Rollins pointing out the fact that Morrison literally has like drip on the side of his head. Like
and he's got those drip things, those like water guns.
Yeah. And it was funny to see them teaming up too for a majority of the match.
Mm-hmm.
That was really like weird to see, but played a nice story.
Weird, but in character, right? Rollins is a bright guy. John Morrison isn't against like tandem offense.
There was also a classic spot: Ricochet getting back dropped onto the ladder by Morrison and Seth. By Morrison and Seth again. KO getting suplexed back first onto a ladder. Except this one
the hard way,
it
was so bad. Yeah. Or how about KO being power bombed into another ladder outside?
Yeah. There was also him somehow pulling off that backflip onto Morrison and Rollins holding the ladder. That was
really cool.
Where they pushed Ricochet off the ladder and he jumps onto the rope, and I think he did like a front flip onto the people waiting him on the outside.
How about the KO bit where every time somebody pulled him down from the ladder, he stunnered them, and he did it to like 4 of the guys.
Yeah. And then you had to mention, it seemed like Drew was about to get that briefcase until Jinder Mahal and his lackeys, I guess you can call them, pull up and just beat Drew and take him to the back so he's eliminated from the match, thus meaning he can't win.
That's what some people online suspected to be Drew's downfall and why he wouldn't win. It wasn't for any reason other than he's sort of busy getting his comeuppance for destroying Jinder Mahal's motorcycle, because I guess he rides a motorcycle.
Yeah, but really good spot. And then the final spot being Rollins is climbing up that ladder and Biggie comes, starts waiting on him, and then gets him in position and from essentially the top of the ladder, hits him with the big ending, climbs up and gets that briefcase.
I think the biggest big ending we've ever seen.
Yeah. The only issue I have with this spot is not with Big E, but with Rollins, and I was upset with how quickly Rollins got up from it.
Yes, I agree. He was setting up, scowling, but he should have been toiling in pain. He fell face first in the big ending.
Yeah, and he was just...
I 100% caught that too, Jack.
Yeah, that was the only thing that really, irked me, because I get they were trying to tell this story that Seth is annoyed, and they even showed how backstage he made the claim that he doesn't care who wins later in the main event. He wants next at the title stuff. But it was you could have just aired that segment backstage and had it. You didn't need him, immediately getting up and walking off all angry.
You say that, Jack, you say that. But you know what? Sometimes, they get the best photos of, can you imagine the shot, Jack? It's from the ringside area. Rollins is sitting on the ring apron, scowling, right? Hair dripped over his face. And then behind him, framed perfectly, is Big E on the top of the ladder, soaking the moment in. That's such a good photo. Mm-hmm. And they've done things like that before, like somebody walking up the ramp and right behind the corner, right behind their shoulder, right, is the thing that, that draws all the focus, as if it visually is weighing on their shoulders, the person in the foreground.
Yeah.
So, I almost forgive it for the artistry of that shot. But goodness gracious. Yes, he got up way too soon.
Yeah. But so now there's a lot of options for what Big E can do here.
Yes.
But I don't know, with the announcement on Raw, I don't know. I don't know because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, maybe Big E cashes in on Lashley to avenge Kofi." You know, how to do that storyline. But with the news of Keith Lee, I don't know if they can run that. Or they could, but I think the prospect of Keith Lee winning the WWE Championship in Allegiant Stadium in a fully packed stadium crowd sounds a lot better.
Jack, would you like an update on what's happened on Raw since we've been talking?
Sure. I'm afraid for the worst, though, because it's Monday Night Raw.
Here we go. So when Keith Lee challenged him for the championship, that was to happen then and there. So it did. And the match ended. And Lashley won. And who should come out, Jack, to ruin his celebration? duh, 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 duh.
I said it.
You should see this picture, this gif of Lashley. It's so good. There's another one too where he's like, his face says, "No, Vince, no, don't do it."
I called it last episode too. Oh my goodness.
Look, this is the one where it says, "Please no, please God no."
Well, with that being shown, I guess we can say that they could go with this Lashley storyline then. As much as I want Keith to win, I guess you can, like I said, with the whole Bianca thing, you can at least push his story for another year. And
yeah, you know, what was nice is that he got a high-profile match. You know, he was in there with Lashley. He didn't beat him this time, but, you know, he's in the picture. Yeah. And you think, absolutely. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad Keith Lee didn't win. If Goldberg was waiting in Gorilla, imagine Keith Lee, like, he's in the small package and he just sort of shifts it so that Lashley's on top. Good luck with that, man. And he goes, "What? Oh, no."
But, like I said, there's a lot of options. Potentially could be the guy to dethrone Roman. Because the main thing I told my dad when we were talking about this earlier today was that, you know, obviously the big match that everyone was talking about was The Rock versus Roman at, like, WrestleMania for the title. Yep. And it being a one-on-one thing and Roman walking out. But with the reports that The Rock, like, I don't want to be mean, but, like, the words I've been seeing is people saying The Rock is too fragile to have a one-on-one match.
I get that, though.
And they want to do a tag match instead with him teaming with one of the Usos versus Roman and the other Uso. Hearing that, it just makes me think, well, okay, if that's actually going to happen, if The Rock comes out to, like, Vince and Roman and says, "I can't do a one-on-one match, I can only do a tag match," then you could have Roman drop the title at, like, one of the big fours, like, not necessarily SummerSlam, but like Survivor Series, Rumble, you know, one of those where it's just in time for another big event where they can run other stories and you don't have to worry about Roman, like, going back into the title picture scene so soon. And it would make sense because, you know, like I said, you know, because it would feel like a waste to keep the title on Roman so that he walks into Mania and he's not defending and just having a tag match, you know, because, like, I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but I feel like that's a match that can happen without Roman having that title, and having someone like Big E dethrone him not only puts over a newer guy into that title picture, but it can be done in a way where Roman doesn't lose that much credibility because it involves cashing in the briefcase rather than having, like, a full-on match.
I was just about to say the same thing, that really the briefcase kind of, like, protects Roman, you know, if he's gone through hell and back in a match and Big E pops in, like, surprise. Yeah. These are totally within the confines and rules of this thing, and I'm not a bad person for doing this. We're all just super excited for Big E, right?
Yeah. And it's while discussing this that I realized we've completely spoiled the outcome of the main event because of the fact that we're citing Roman as champion.
I'm really surprised if anyone believed Edge was really gonna win.
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, like at Mania, maybe, you know, because there was that whole storyline of, oh, it's been 10 years since.
There was a
Edge
lot
did this.
of obnoxious coincidences that the WWE might have like leaned into if it were, a normal year.
Yeah.
But no, we ain't gonna beat the head of the table, the tribal chief Roman Reigns, like this. No, sir. And goodness gracious, did they pull out all the stops, right?
Yeah. They really played to the crowd too. There was so many moments where they kind of like slowed it down and, you know, kind of similar to the Cesaro match where, you know, it was Roman talking to the camera to talk to the audience at home, whereas this time, you know, he was slowing it down and trash talking the crowd a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Again, to the crowd's credit, they're telling WWE what they like. Half of that crowd was for Roman. Half of them are for Edge.
Yeah.
We got some let's go Romans, let's go Edge. Isn't that the wildest thing?
Mm-hmm. And that was one thing is like, I knew was going to happen was throughout the Thunderdome era, you know, they were piping in the boos for Roman, but based off of what I was seeing online, I was like, there's no way he gets booed. Like, there's no way the majority boo him. It's going to be either 50-50 split or you're going to hear a lot more cheers because, you know, people aren't caring that he's a heel. They're appreciating his work that he's doing as this character.
Well, we got a couple of safeguards, though, Jack. We, one, have some good old-fashioned, tried and true shenanigans. Your dad must have been real happy to know that Roman was definitely not going to win this on his own.
He felt the disturbance in the force as soon as he heard you say shenanigans.
He looked up into the sky and said, somewhere, a very capable man in his physical prime is getting help from the outside.
But yeah, they played up so much of it. And I like that they were doing like a lot of different submissions, you know, playing up like that type of style, you know. And
yeah,
gotta bring it up, that choke out spot where Edge just has him in that chokehold, and you know, and going back to the Daniel Bryan thing, it's looking like he's gonna tap. It's looking like he's gonna pass out, and I can't tell I can't say if it's bad camera work or it's just the fact that the Mysterios were in such a bad position that that no camera angle could hide it. But the Usos come out, and then in the back you see the Mysterios coming out, so it kind of already spoils that the Usos aren't going to play that much of a factor in this finish.
Yes.
But, you know, they still tried to play it up, though. You know, here come out the Usos to help Reigns escape the submission, but then the Mysterios stop it. And then, much to like predictions of the fans, it's Seth Rollins who comes out and interrupts the match in favor for Roman.
Yep. And a little contradictory to, I think you alluded to earlier that he was interviewed after the Money in the Bank match he lost, throwing a fit, saying he's next in line, no matter who wins. But I guess he cares greatly. Who would you rather fight, Jack? Would you rather fight Edge or fight Roman?
Based off of their current character work, I would say Edge, just because I didn't notice this until someone brought it up. When it comes to big pay-per-view matches, other than like the Royal Rumble, Edge so far is like 0-3, 0-4 maybe.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like he lost at Mania, he loses here, and then I think people were even going as far back as 2020 because they were like, he lost to Orton. And
right.
His only other wins were the Royal Rumble and last year's Mania against Orton. But other than
right, so he's like 3-2, but like he won the Rumble this year.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's pretty sketchy. He's got a pretty low track record for a guy who's fought 5 times in 2 years. But yeah, so Seth Rollins helps Roman, peak of his prime, head of the table, unstoppable. He's like, nope, you win.
Yeah. And when this happened, because as I mentioned, a lot of fans predicted it, so like a lot of people didn't see it as surprising that Rollins came out. I thought back, especially because we discussed about how Triple H had kind of said that like the fans are ruining the product for themselves because of like all their different like head canons and theories and stuff, rather than letting it play out. But I was like, I can see the point being made, especially like right here, because it was like no one was surprised Rollins was coming out because everyone was predicting it because of the fact that it would play into, a storyline with Edge and getting him that match with Edge and playing off that segment all the way back in 2014-15, But then it was like, you can't even blame the fans here because the story to tell is super obvious here. So, it's not that we're complaining because it's not a surprise. It's that we just already knew it was going to happen because we know for a fact that this is a story that's going to be told.
Yep.
But other than that, pretty great match, especially for the main event. And,
I would still say, for me, that the men's Money in the Bank ladder match was the match of the night.
Yeah, I agree. The men's Money in the Bank match really, really was great. And it was one of those matches that, like as you mentioned in the previous episode, that truly benefited from having that crowd there to truly pop for a lot of those spots.
But they got the best pop out of them. Roman's the champion. Acknowledge him. Copyright 2021. Thanks for joining us. Right, Jack?
Yeah.
Actually, there is a bit where Rollins is confronting Reigns, sort of giving him the evil eye, and Edge, goes after him. Just costs him the match. They fall outside, carry out the match outside. Roman, alone, and in a very uncharacteristic move, is given a microphone by Paul Heyman. And Roman says something to the effect of,
now the whole world can acknowledge me or something like that.
Yeah, it was really sinister, actually. Like, it's funny how he's been on weekly TV for a year, but it's like only now that the fans are in the building can they now officially acknowledge him. And do they, Jack?
For the most part, like you mentioned earlier, 50-50. Some people are cheering for him, some people are booing. But, they, for the most part, they acknowledge him. Copyright 2021. The coverage of the event has now ended by Peacock. The biggest pop of the night was for the men's Money in the Bank, correct?
Surely.
Except, as always, because ever since Ciampa turning on Gargano, can't trust that copyright logo.
No, sir.
Because instead, Roman calls for the crowd to acknowledge him, and the trumpets sound.
Oh my, the trumpets sound.
And out comes John Cena.
A man who's definitely not going to acknowledge anybody. Goodness gracious, that crowd was so loud.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I saw that people brought up was the debate of whether 2008 MSG Cena returning at the Rumble was louder or this one was. And I don't know, the argument can be made for either, but the main thing I saw people saying was 2008, no one expected Cena back, where this time it's like Cena himself started hinting at it, but we just didn't know when. But
he put up an incredible Instagram post yesterday morning, and it was a bank balance of $0.00.
Ooh.
Get it? It's as if he's got no money, so he's gonna have to get more at the bank.
Yeah, but,
it was incredible.
Yeah, incredible return, incredible pop, and I've seen like,
and he gave us the 2008 with Jericho, where he just came out and posed, and that was it.
Yeah, didn't get no type of segment on the mic or anything. And funny enough, the night before, I don't know if you saw anything about it, but similarly, Impact had Slammiversary, and out at the end of it, you had Kenny Omega celebrating with, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson. I can't remember if he had the Young Bucks with him, but they were out celebrating.
No.
And then Jay White comes out, and then he
Yes.
stands in the ring. He has a microphone, and then the feed just cuts out copyright logo and all. Nothing
I'll
happens.
tell you what, Jack, when I saw Jay White come out and confront Kenny Omega, I honestly thought, oh, I'm watching the wrong show. Oh, Jesus, Impact's finally got me with their Forbidden Door.
Yeah, and same thing happens here at Money in the Bank. Cena makes that return, and then copyright logo coverage has ended.
Was it John Cena or was it Jim Carrey in a John Cena t-shirt? Because the man is looking a bit old.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And another thing people mentioned was he finally changed the color of his attire finally.
Finally? What are you talking about?
Apparently, ever since like 2017-ish, he's been rocking that like neon lime green shirt. And like no other variant where as before.
Oh, I see. So now it's a dark green.
Yeah.
It's a John Deere green, which he's had before. He's gone through them all.
Yeah.
Hey, but one question we still don't have answered is how he escaped the Fiend's funhouse.
Yeah, that's the only kind of thing that like I'm like being picky about is can we get like some type of continuity? He was gone for a year because of the Firefly Funhouse. Are we not going to have any type of explanation? Like, the best fan booking I saw was around WrestleMania time when Orton was feuding with The Fiend. They wanted it to be a Firefly Funhouse, and they wanted a scene where, Orton, like, either, like, opens some door or something, or The Fiend uses his magic, and Cena appears and then goes running out, essentially escaping the Firefly Funhouse.
I think that would be amazing if he says, oh, the Fiend disappeared, so he wasn't guarding the gate or something like that. He's like, so I just left.
Yeah. And then before we started recording, I did see some clips that Cena had already on Raw cut a promo on Roman.
Oh, funny that he's on Raw cutting a promo on Roman, a SmackDown champion.
Yeah, but apparently he showed up for Raw and, he essentially said what a lot of people are saying. He wants to knock Roman down a peg and stuff, and he's not going to try and acknowledge him.
Roman is using Twitter really well, too. Like, he's using Twitter really, really well. Put out a really good tweet before Money in the Bank, and then right after, when he gets showed up by John Cena, he put out a really short tweet that said, it's all the same. They come back, they acknowledge me. Oof! Burn on edge.
Yeah. And I'm hoping it. I don't know about you, but a lot of people saying it can go either way because they could give Cena that 17th world title win and break Flair's record. But I don't know. I think Cena's just here to put him over again because match happened at No Mercy 2017. So Cena's here to put over the heel version of Roman. And then from here on out, I'm kind of hoping that they go back to how Roman's booking kind of was at the start, where he's getting more of like the, not necessarily lesser known, but less, like getting more of the talents who haven't gotten the opportunity to challenge for a world title more. Because like when he started, it was taking Jay from the tag division to challenging him twice for that title.
Yeah.
Then he challenged KO a bunch. And then we kind of got on this road where he started challenging a bunch of people who were coming back in a sense, like, Daniel Bryan, then it was Edge. Now we're getting Cena. We know probably, like I mentioned, maybe The Rock sometime soon.
Yeah, like it's a real eat your heart out legend killer Orton, right?
Yeah.
I'm the legend killer now.
Yeah, and as much as I enjoy the matches and the stories that they tell, it's like I I've enjoyed the matches better when it was like against guys like Cesaro and KO, where they're guys that haven't gotten that opportunity much. So it's not only letting them shine, but it's a bit more unpredictable in a sense where even though we know Roman more than likely isn't going to lose like on one of the V pay-per-views, like it gives us a compelling story that, well, there's a chance, and there's a chance that one of these lesser opportune guys knock them off and get that big push and opportunity from this match.
Yeah, like I'm really split on Roman Reigns' championship run. I get a lot of people saying that it's really entertaining, but like especially the first half, like it's really funny what he got away with. Who was he fighting? His cousin Jay, right? Like what? Like, and then between KO and Cesaro and Rey Mysterio, he's fighting all these low-level guys who don't have a chance. Like it's the illusion of building them up, but they're not built up, right? Cesaro wasn't even in Money in the Bank. And I don't know, like Edge. And so, God, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. Ha, 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 ha. The Rock. It's like he's got two levels of contenders. The scrubs and, these comeback stories. And yeah, who's it going to be to take it off of them? Goodness gracious.
Like we mentioned earlier, could be big.
Bronson Reed.
Nah, I personally think Bronson Reed would need a much more build-up in order to challenge for that world title, especially to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe Keith Lee gets drafted over to SmackDown and does it.
That would be a pretty good program.
Yeah, especially because I'm starting to think, and it's another thing of, again, going back to like how I said about the Viking Raiders match, kind of like how they were talking about how they won the opportunity over a month ago. As much as it makes Roman look like this like final boss,
yes,
I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to have him go on TV and acknowledge the fact that he has no challengers left.
Yes.
It's like if Drew during his run was to have come out and go, hey guys, I don't have any more main event level talents to face other than Orton and Styles that I just beat at a TLC. What's next? It kind of gives the same vibes to me where it's like, okay, I get you're trying to seem like this heel who's conquered all and is super dominant, but you don't really want to say there's no one left because all it's doing is highlighting the fact that, yeah, you're kind of right. There's no more challengers left. Where are we going from here?
No, yeah, I think they're dancing a very fine line of like exposing the lack of depth in that main event sort of tier. Mm-hmm. You got Seth Rollins. That's the only person you haven't ruined yet.
Yeah.
Lord knows you didn't. Lord knows you tried.
Yeah, I've seen people like try and fantasy. Cause, again, going back to your thing, like I understand, like for most people, a lot of the matches have been entertaining. But the one thing I saw someone bring up, and of course there's the draft, so you can get guys switching over. But like I've seen people try and fantasy book Roman's reign because I just don't understand it. People want him to hold the title till Mania, and I've seen people even crazier say, oh, he should hold the title all the way till Mania in Los Angeles. And I saw someone even crazier say he should hold it till Mania 40, and I'm just like, where are you getting his challengers from? This is
right. These 3 years of challengers. You know what, Jack? Those are the same people who, when Lesnar won it in 2014 or 15, they said, "Man, that guy is so unstoppable. He can hold it forever. We can have a Bruno Sammartino reign." And they got sick of that quick.
Yeah, Bruno was able to have that run because, for the most part, they weren't having weekly pay-per-views, let alone probably weekly shows. It was like anytime there was a special event, out he came. Yeah. It was a one-time thing. Now you got...
That's what I always think about that when people talk about Roman holding it till Mania 2. I think, oh, you say that now. oh, you're gonna turn on that fact by October.
Yeah, and to use a lot of people's like arguments against him, as you're saying, this sadly isn't the same era when they were able to have such long reigns. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to have like a 3-month reign. You can still have like a year-long reign, as Roman's shown. But for the most part, you can't go beyond 2 years anymore, especially if you're expected to have a monthly match for each monthly pay-per-view. Like, you couldn't even go back in time and bring someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin into today's time and have him have some miraculous 2-year, 3-year reign because, again, sadly enough, this roster, due to not only the cuts, but the lack of build for a lot of stars themselves, you do not have enough credible challengers for someone like Roman to go this full 2-3 years that people propose he goes.
Maybe Goldberg, after he beats Lashley, comes after Roman. Wants both belts at the same time.
Because it's like,
how many minutes we got, Jack?
About 3.
Right on.
Yeah, but it's like trying to fantasy book the rest. It's like, okay, you have Cena at SummerSlam, Rollins at the next one. What do you do after that? Rollins again?
What do you do, Jack? What do you do? Jimmy? Oh, poor guy. I wish and hope him the best. I don't think he has it in him to be a part of a story that big.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why I said I could see Big E or Keith Lee, someone like them transferring over, or, for Keith transferring over and winning at like a pay-per-view like, I don't think they could do it like at Survivor Series because they'd probably want to do champion versus champion, but like winning it at the Rumble maybe, or winning it like on some type of special event, like, I don't know, Christmas themed, like like SmackDown or something like that, or some type of like big time pay-per-view that they run. It's like I could see them winning it just for the fact that they can give Roman that break to do like the right storyline.
So, some point in time when you like want a big old rating pop and like you can get a big old rating pop,
Yeah.
I know who's going to beat Roman Reigns and end his reign. Here he comes, marching down the ramp. He's got a crutch under his arm, but he's thrown it to the side. He doesn't need it anymore. He's ripped the cast right off his foot to reveal he's 100% recovered. It's Jack, the Jack Knight Power Bomb Castillo.
You forgot.
You're fully recovered from your surgery.
You forgot, sir. They're gonna hype, as we mentioned, they're gonna hype up my debut, only for me to debut and then get cut 2 weeks later.
You'll lose to Roman, and then you'll get stepped over by Goldberg on his way to the ring.
And not only that, don't forget to change my compete clause after they've called me up, so that I'll only get 30 days instead of 90, and I'll pop up 30 days later somewhere.
Somewhere, like we don't already know where.
Even though I don't speak, don't forget about me.
Don't you forget about Mac.
Well, with about a minute left, sir, I guess we'll close out here. Really great episode as always. And as always, we want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guest,
Mr. Solis.
I want to thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. We'll see you next month for SummerSlam, fully packed arena out in Las Vegas. Hopefully we get a takeover Las Vegas. I'm hoping they can get a full crowd back sometime soon. But if not, we'll see you to cover those events. And as always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you. We'll see you in the next episode.